Hello, all you beautiful creators, designers, architects of the new earth. I am so excited to be hosting the eighth Sacred Blueprint for Our New Earth interview series. We are gathering together an incredible circle of women as well. We have one man as well, but women architects and designers, building biologists, feng shui practitioners, designers and architects who are weaving spirit and nature and soul into the way they practice architecture and design. And I'm so looking forward to receiving all these tips and tools on how we can build healing sanctuaries with the wisdom of nature. Whether these sanctuaries are your homes, communities, visions that you have for the city, the key theme of this interview series is how to work consciously and practically with the spirit of the land, with nature, with the energetics of nature to create a more abundant, healthy, prosperous, and healing future for this planet and for humanity. My name is Aisha Rose Melodie Hassan, and I am your host for this series. I am an architect, alchemical healer, and the creator of the Sacred Blueprint. This is a cutting-edge vessel of courses and programs for women architects and designers, as well as land stewards, visionary leaders that help them to birth their dream sanctuaries through a new modality that bridges spirit with architecture. I encourage you all to tune in to all the interviews of this series. You're going to get so many juicy nuggets of wisdom and tips and tools that you can implement right away in your own design practice, in your sanctuary project. It's likely that you are either a designer, an architect, a property owner who's really interested in working in a more holistic and intuitive and sacred way with the land, with your clients, and with the act of building, the act of developing spaces for ourselves and for the collective. So today, I am delighted to be having a talk with one of my dear colleagues. She is an architect who is a pioneer in speaking about spirit in the field of architecture and weaving that into her design practice, not only into her projects, but also into the way that she leads her team. I am so excited to have her on the series again. Welcome, Rachael Grochowski. Hello, welcome.
Hi, it's so great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely, Rachael. It's always a pleasure to have you in the Sacred Blueprint Circle. And I feel that we are kindred souls, pioneering this new way, really bringing back the wholeness once again, and bringing back the union between spirit and form. This was something that I received as an urgent signal when I was connecting with my guides, my spirit guides, at a time when I thought that I was going to be quitting architecture, Rachael. Really, I thought I was going to give up. And I was depleted. I was stressed from the old paradigm way of working. I found that I couldn't spend enough time with my child. I was ready to quit. And then I received the guidance to study alchemical healing. And when I was connecting with my guides, they said, no, 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 not so fast. You know, you're doing great work with the healing of other people, but it's time that you heal the land through creating spirit architecture. And they said, your task is to bridge spirit with form. And so even though I was just like, are you sure? I really don't want to go back to this field, this profession. I listened. I listened. And I'm grateful that I did. I'm grateful that I did. And a whole world of opportunities and possibilities opened up for me. And I know that you have a similar story. And I would love for the listeners to hear about how you started to speak about design is spiritual. That is one of your trademarks. Design is spiritual, with boldness, with confidence, with love, with compassion. How did you start
Well,
weaving
I think,
spirit with architecture?
yeah, thank you. I think first I just have to say that what you're talking about, just same concept, and in different words are coming to me of like turning spirit into or consciousness into matter. So turning consciousness into matter. So it's the same concept. And my path has been very similar. I think I was always connected to the land. I just happened to come back from Wisconsin, which is where I'm originally from. I grew up in Colorado, and now I'm on the East Coast. I've lived all over the country and as well as abroad. But when I being back in the Midwest, it reminded me of this root that was part of my knowledge. I think maybe just from living there, my family, of course, uh, but really understanding indigenous cultures, uh, understanding that our relationship to the earth and animals was sacred, and ultimately that our experience in space is about not just begins with safety, it begins with protection, but it moves into spirituality because it's about how we feel. It's about creating moments where we remember and see that we are just a small part of this bigger connectedness, not just individuals moving about in this world, and that without each other, we cannot possibly be but I want to say successful, but that's actually not a great word. I think it's more we cannot possibly flourish without each other, and the buildings and land support us in those actions. So that's kind of the premise of like where I come from. I too, grew up into interesting. We just won a historic preservation award last night, and
Yes, I saw that on your feed. It's so great. Yeah, I
yeah,
saw that.
thank you, and
Congratulations.
so what I was thinking about with this, and this is all, it all comes together in the end. It's going to sound a little tangential, but I first got interested, again, here's spirit over here, like the root of who I am. I got interested in architecture through history. So this idea that these buildings and these structures were holding the moments over time. So whether that's your family or a business or a cafe or a club, that all of these memories, again, connections. Again, it could be a church, it can be a stupa. They're all held within this structure, right? And so, as a teenager, I found that fascinating, and that this marking of time is just embed in the lineage of the building. So I started going down this path of the history of architecture, seeing how it mirrors cultural history, which led me to a degree in architectural history, which then led me to now I understand the development of architecture, and now I want to create these spaces that people can have their experiences, the backdrop of our lives. And when you get into the industry, of course, it doesn't feel that way anymore,
Right.
right? Like you go into this, at least I'm going to say in the past, because I'm thinking we're going into a cultural future where things are changing back to the values that you and I are discussing. But, in my career, it's all about economy, right?
Mm.
It's all about maximizing. It's not without intention. It's just maybe the intentions were not, they were misinformed.
Mm.
So
Mm.
if
Mm.
you were
Mm.
thinking, I'll talk about like the 80s and the early 90s. If you're thinking about environmental consciousness, that went to sealed up buildings, right? Like, but that's disconnecting our humanity from the earth.
From the earth.
So that when you go into architecture for this connection, and then you're practicing in a way that's about separation, it no longer feels good, and it's exhausting, it's depleting for us as professionals, which is why both you and I kind of felt like maybe I don't really want to do
Yeah,
this.
maybe this is not for me. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I had that moment too, um, where I started to question, first it was like, what's the best design? Who's the best architect, the best designer that I can get the job with and do the coolest project? And then pretty soon it was like, wait a minute, like, where is the soul? Why did I start this? And I started to see that even when you're designing someone's home, I shouldn't say even, because that's obviously one of the most important places in our lives. But I think as a trained architect, you don't always think about that.
Right.
Uh, Residential architecture has not really been talked about much at school, right?
Right.
It,
It isn't. It's like the library project, the opera house, right? The community center, or yeah, like, yeah, yeah,
which are all important
absolutely.
also, but like maybe the root of our existence, our protection, is something that
Mm.
should be more discussed.
Mm. Mm.
And so when I started off on my own doing residential design, which now has flourished into many different project types. It really, I started to see like how it changed people's lives, and my spiritual world was growing, and my architectural world was growing until, and I kept asking the question, like, what what is, similarly to you, like, what is the path? Like, do I have to leave one of these things behind? Now I found some joy in architecture again, but if I really am on the spiritual path, maybe I need to be fully committed. Like, what does that look like to be fully committed? Well, actually, what fully committed meant was to marry the two, right? Like ultimately to, and then furthermore, to not just marry the two of spirit and architecture, but of professional life,
Yeah.
leadership,
Yeah.
and family.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's so beautiful. And you are a trained yoga teacher and student. And so that was a big part of your spiritual growth as well, right? So and still is, I'm sure. So yeah, merging the two, right? The breath,
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah. I mean, for me, so there are feng shui practitioners, there are people who are following Ayurveda, people who are, different specific modalities. For me, it's like a merging of all, and that's how I got to design a spiritual, because, my first yoga class was in second grade, and my first meditation was in second grade. I've been practicing my whole life. And that was actually at a public school.
So
So
awesome.
it's
Oh, I
kind
love
of
that.
insane. When I talk about it, people are like, what?
Which public school did you go to?
And that was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Like, people don't expect that, right?
Right.
Um, and that, again, that like honoring of nature really comes from this environmentalism and the history of the land somehow. Again, I being in both Wisconsin and Colorado, there's a real rooted understanding of indigenous cultures. And maybe there is everywhere. I actually don't know, because I guess that's where maybe I've lived in certain places, right? I've lived a lot of places, but I've lived in certain places. Um, and so that's always been a part of my understanding. The yogic tradition, you can practice yoga and you can not really understand yoga, like in the depths of it. So when I really started studying both yoga and Ayurveda, again, Ayurveda became part of my life when I was in college. I was just talking about this, like I was at a yoga retreat recently, and I was talking about this. Like, the trajectory is always so interesting, because yoga in second grade, meditation in second grade, by the, introduced into spirit uh, as a child, not didn't really resonate with me from my lineage, which was more Catholicism, but I
Right.
understood that there was something bigger.
Right. Yeah.
And I left the door open until I started to find what I would just call a broader spirituality.
Yeah.
Studied Hinduism, studied Judaism, studied, a variety of Zen uh, uh, traditions,
Yeah.
and collecting the elements, the wisdom throughout, which obviously, as we know, like there's a crossover. And then how does that apply to our architecture? How does that apply to our relationship? And if you think about it, I was talking about this yesterday in the office. Um, this idea of space, calm, listening, presence, which is continuous through all of the wisdom traditions, whether it's, there are obviously specific holidays, there are ceremonies, there are celebration focused on this idea of presence. And what does presence look like in architecture? What
Hmm.
does that look like? The listening and the presence. I think the listening is important piece that I want to say too. And because in that stillness is where we listen to ourselves
Yeah.
and others, and can actually hear them. Because so often, right, like, we're thinking about, you're in a meeting with a client,
Right.
and you're already have the solution before they've finished posing the question.
Right. Right. It's a preconceived assumption, idea. It could also hold some judgment, right? Assumptions about how they're going to react to a certain design, or what they may like, or what you are only thinking is correct. But you're making a distinction here between that state of being and a state of being that allows you to be 100% present, with a capacity to listen in between the lines, in between the words as well, right?
Absolutely. And then when that happens, you it becomes a true dialogue, right? Like, maybe what the client has shared with you, you're again, there's a point where you can make another assumption, even if you've listened, right? Like, you fill in the blanks. We all create these stories.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's the mind, right? It's what we do. It's part of being human. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if we ask more questions, okay, now I understand. Now that I understand, now I can take your perspective. I can integrate that into the skill and knowledge of architecture, the intuition that one holds when they're tapped into it to create the space that supports the beauty of life.
Hey, this is Aisha popping in here to let you know about my free webinar. This is where you're going to discover how to unlock your spirit architect mastery, and it's going to support you to magnetize amazing clients who love paying you top dollar for your intuitive gifts. You're going to magnetize soul liberating health and overflowing creativity, birthing the sanctuaries of our new earth. I also offer an exclusive resource that I don't share publicly. This is the Sacred Blueprint Sweet Spot Profit Map. This is where you're going to gain tools that are going to support you to ditch the depletion of conventional practice in order to build a prospering architecture practice, bridging spirit with form. So make sure you sign up below for your free access, and on with the interview. Just that needs to be quoted. We need to clip that. I'm going to send that clip to you, because that's beautiful. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful to create that the beauty of life, to be open to what wants to speak through this union, right? Between you and the client, between you and the land, between you and your team. And so that we become these instruments for that beauty.
It makes me think about, it's often used when somebody transitions, but that we're all walking each other home. But like, that's every day of our lives, right? Like, that's what, if we look at architecture and design as that, we're here truly in connection, truly in serving, truly in healing. Whether, again, that's the land or the client or each other, even in relationship in the studio. So I think so if we can approach our work this way, then what happens, right? Like, how does that change the building? How does that change the energy of the space, right? Like, you and I've talked about this before, that like, you walk in, when you design that way, you walk into the space, maybe you finish the project, you come back 2 years later, you walk through the space and you're like, oh my God, it really feels good in here. I forgot. Or I didn't notice because like I was at the end of the project last time I was in here, and it was like, come on, let's get done, right?
Yeah, because there's that alignment, right? The alignment with the client's souls, alignment with also what life wanted to speak through your union between you and the client, your team and the client, right? And this is not to say that every little step of the way has to be picture perfect. Because as architects, I mean, I'm a recovering perfectionist.
Oh yeah.
I'm a recovering perfectionist. And I know I realize that even with the construction of my own home, Rachel, the amount of mistakes that have turned into gold, the amount of mistakes that have shown me something about myself, about my husband, my family, my child, about the land, and the opportunity that arose out of these construction mistakes. Whereas in the past, I would have just been like, oh my God, like, this is like such a mess. Like, like I studied architecture and worked at all these firms and I couldn't manage to get this done, right? So what you're talking about, yeah, I mean, when you create this vessel for, right, the first, what you said, the safety and the protection, which is linked to survival, but there's the depth to that too, right? Are we well held? Are we well held by our homes? Are we well held by the land? If the land is angry, I mean, bringing in some indigenous wisdom, we know that if the land is angry, that it's going to start causing some trouble. in some way, shape, or form, and it'll speak through various channels. You know, this could be permit issues, right? Zoning issues. This could be some, you know, constant arguments between the family members. It could be constant indecision. I mean, this is something that I've been, you know, slowly logging as I gain more and more practice in this new modality that I've been gifted by my spirit guides. I mean, of course, it's a co-creation. My higher self is involved in it. But with the sacred blueprint system design modality that I've been supporting my clients through, I get them to be comfortable to be in the unknown, in the dark, in that seeding process. And what I do is I actually I encourage them, or actually it's a requirement for the first part of the design process, for them to not bring any images. They can't search on anything on social media or anything. We are going into the dark. And the first design drawing that happens after that dark period, which is like winter in the four seasons, the first drawing that happens is done by them.
Interesting. That's so interesting.
And then that becomes the basis of the concept. So it's similar, what you're talking about, through your deep presence, your deep listening, you're open to the unknown, the mystery there. And open to the possibilities, right?
Yeah.
You also work with existing buildings too. So I'm sure that really helps also with, right, the neighborhoods, the existing buildings, and listening to the spirit of that building. What do you want to be?
It's so important. You know, again, we do residential, retail, hospitality, corporate interior. I mean, we do all of it. So, and I just say that as like each, and a lot of the projects are in existing buildings. I get a lot of feedback from people because of the projects. We also do projects that are local and projects across the country and across the world. And so so it's always different. You know, you have to study the building. The feedback that we get is, what we love about your architecture is don't completely turn your back on the history, right? And it's interesting because I studied historic preservation, and at the time there was this kind of like, okay, here's the building, and to some extent this is still true, just maybe not as extensive as some people. And then, you know, you have to make the new work different enough, right? Different
Right.
enough.
It becomes very much of a contrast. Yeah.
But you're respecting it. And I think oftentimes that little respect part is what is missing.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, today we want to live in this like minimalist box plopped onto, you know, historic front. Well, there's a way to have this glass. I'm just using residential as an example.
Yeah.
Glass back of a building with a traditional or existing street side facade without disrespecting it, by tying these design details that are from the original structure back into that area that says, hey, you know, this is the bridge, because we all need that bridge, a bridge between, you know, community and self, a bridge between nature and protection, a bridge between, you know, above and below, like it's
past and future, right? Yeah.
And that is ultimately how you get to define the present, right? The past and you know, understand the history, know where you want to go, and then that's how you root yourself in the present.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important. And I was going to share, because I think it's important that that we all are gentle with ourselves.
Yes.
You and I were talking about this earlier, that I have a project that it's a beautiful piece of property. The land has some dark energy.
Yeah.
And when we started the project, I naively felt that I could solve it through the architecture only.
Right.
And the building does feel easeful and gracious, but there's still this like darkness on the property.
Right.
And we have, as you were describing, run into challenges, in particular with the contractor. This project has been under construction for 2 years and it should have been done a long time ago. There were mistakes that they made that it's a whole long story, but now we're going back and doing land cleansing,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can do it at any point.
You can.
Sure, it would have been great to do it before we started the construction,
Yeah.
but you can still go back and make the amends uh, at any point in the process. And I think it's important because I'm on this chat group with a bunch of they're interior designers versus architects. And last week, everybody kind of comes together and supports each other. And hey, do you know somebody who does this? And and people were kind of talking about some of the struggles they had had in the last year. In particular, they're all women. In particular, in that sort of females working with a very male-dominated
Yeah.
industry. And one of the young designers was saying, like, I don't know, maybe they're not cut out for this. And I said, listen, like, I too, somebody who's been in the industry over 20 years and has a reasonably successful studio, feel some days maybe I'm not cut
Yeah.
out for this. Like maybe I don't want to do this anymore. Maybe it's not
Yeah.
worth it. And that like we feel that way because it's hard. It is
Yeah.
hard
It can be hard. Yeah.
and it's okay. Mistakes are okay. We do the best we can to fix them.
Yeah.
We find the gold and use them as the transformation, as you spoke about. And you use them to inspire us in many cases, and also to do it better next time,
Yeah.
right?
To do it
And
better
that's
next
that's
time.
that's what that's what it is, right? Like that's the
Yeah.
personal growth of it, and I think that's important to, even though that's not specifically about the structure or, that is. I think it's just important as female professionals to talk about, because I think like everything else, like we are the ones leading the way,
Yeah.
and we will lead us back to the understanding of spirit that we're both practicing in,
Yeah.
and it's the healing of an industry and a culture that maybe has gotten disconnected from ourselves.
Yeah. Not maybe, in my opinion, has absolutely has gotten disconnected from ourselves. And what you're talking about is that it's this impulse that we are responding to, Rachel, as women, architects, designers, creators. You could be a landscape architect, an urban planner, a house healer, a space healer. I mean, these are the women that I've been supporting in my mentoring program. And I love it. It lights me up so much, Rachel, really to be able to support women into overcoming their fears, their blocks, about, their intuition, speaking openly about the spirit realm, speaking openly about, the fact that nature is a living being, our land is a living being, and bringing the practices that we once knew how to do, not identically. I don't believe that we need to be mimicking and replicating every single ancient ritual that was practiced. We are evolved now. We actually hold a lot of the keys and codes within ourselves can work with spirit in a modern way. But what I want to go back to in response to what you just said is that we are the leaders right now. We see this huge explosion of the divine feminine right now in the spiritual communities, and feminine leadership. What is that all about, really? And it's not about women being better than men, certainly not, but it's an indication, especially when we look at it in the context of the architecture practice, that there's a huge imbalance, right? We've gone way off kilter. It's kind of like the unprocessed masculine, like that, he needs to access his divine, right? The divine masculine. We can't build structures or architecture without the masculine. I mean, the architect is more of a masculine archetype. The guard, the interior designer, the woman who works with the textiles and when I say woman, I mean the feminine, right? I mean, we're it's not about what sex you are or something. It's just more the masculine and feminine energies that I'm talking about, the yin and the yang, right? And right, so it's this impulse that we are a part of. And I think for me, when I felt like I'm going to give up, this is too hard, and it happens to me too still sometimes. I remember the bigger picture, Rachel. Like, I remember that actually we are stewards, right? That we have a responsibility. Response, to the ability to respond in a good, true, and integral way to pave the way for the next 7 generations, plant those seeds for our children, for our communities. And I mean, what the work you're doing is just, it's this beautiful. I love hearing your clients talk about, you've respected so much this building, right? That you've really listened to it, honored it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you get into commercial work, I mean, hospitality is similar to residential in some ways. That honoring and that ability to, like, a lot of it feels like caretaking, right? Like, that's one of the things that the words that just keeps coming back to me in our conversation is, and why the feminine is leading the way is we're in a moment that, again, we've been up in our head and we need to come down to our heart, and our heart is where the caretaking comes from. And again, there are many, as you said, men who can tap into their heart. They're also, however, they're socialized not to, right? So that's why we're talking about the male and female energy. And for us, I think we're socialized to tap into our heart center, and that's why I feel like the women are leading the way. And I do feel that when you get into these commercial projects versus the residential and hospitality projects, you have to approach it differently, because it is ultimately, hospitality is too, it is it's still driven by economy, right? So how do you infiltrate caretaking and the softer side, I'll just say, with when that might not be understood by the receiver, the client, until they're in the space, or they will receive the benefits of the space, right? Like, there, when the project is done, the alchemy is delivered, and maybe they don't even know until they're in the space, right? So it becomes like a whole different dance. and you have to pick and choose the words that you use depending on the people
The
you're
client,
working with
yeah,
and the project type, but that doesn't mean you have to change the process.
right. It doesn't mean you have to change your stance. Doesn't mean you to change your values. I mean, you can work with ultimately whoever you want. You can say no, you can say yes, right?
It,
So,
I
yeah,
think it's important because people ask me often, like, well, how do you end up like how do you introduce these ideas to your clients? Or do all of your clients come to you because design is spiritual? No, no. I mean, I again, I've had my studio for 20 years, so you know, some of our clients come to us because design is spiritual. Some of our clients come to us because of a referral, because of a project that they saw that we completed, because they saw me speaking.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
it depends, and I think it's a disservice to our mission if we assume that we should only be taking or attracting people who already understand, because our role is
Mm,
also to drop seeds for those who still have are learning, or maybe don't even know that they need that the learning is a possibility, right? So
yeah,
I think I really I really find that important because there's nothing wrong with saying I'm only taking this kind of client, but I think there's like
yeah, yeah,
different
absolutely.
ways. There's different
Everyone is a
ways.
different, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and I guess I
absolutely.
just find that like it's really important to there's it's kind of like teaching yoga. Um, you have to meet people where they're at. Not everybody is going
Yeah,
to understand why you hold a pose. So one person's going to think it's about strength, and one person's going to think that uh, it's about feeling the sensation in the body and understanding that getting used to having feelings is part of the practice, right? Like those are two different. They're the same
right.
pose. People are in the same pose,
Yeah.
but they're in different parts of their understanding.
Hmm.
But if you they and they both benefit,
Right.
and they both benefit on the same level. They just don't know it. They just don't both have the same awareness. So I think that's why for me it's important to take those clients, that don't always, not all clients, but that don't necessarily come to us because design is
Yeah.
spiritual.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can always be surprised too, right? By the clients who come in and if there's an openness, right? And just being in your presence, I'm sure, Rachel, just being in your presence, I'm sure that certain parts of them that they maybe had hidden for a long time or are dormant are being activated, whether they're conscious of it or not. But I'm sure at the end of the day, when they experience the space that you've created for them, that those parts are continued to be activated. Yeah. Um, yeah, with my process, I'm a smaller, unit. I'm focusing more on mentoring women architects and designers. So I do, for example, um, are much more, I have an intake form, an application, and I make sure that there's really someone who is interested in working with the spirit of their land and the energies. But it doesn't mean that they need to know everything about it, right? That there's an openness. And like you said, it's everyone has a different path, and it's unique to you, right? It's unique
Mhm.
to your energetic. It's unique to your life path. I mean, what a blessing it is that you have these beautiful team members, and I've been following. A couple of them have been promoted in the last couple of years to being associates, these shining, beautiful women. I mean, what a blessing, what a gift that is to be able to have them under your wing, guide them and mentor them in this way that you practice. I mean, right? The yoga practice, the architecture practice. What is that practice? Spiritual practice. Yeah.
And it's so, and also when you have that, being able to show them, how do I say this? Like, it's like nudging. I want to say
Yeah.
it's like you go deeper, go deeper, go deeper, go deeper. We have this project that is a jazz club, and one of the women on the team is African American, and I know that the client who owns it, who is the founder of the jazz organization that's creating this jazz club, really wants to have uh, it rooted in the roots of jazz.
Yeah.
And
Thelonious Monk, Dizzy
so far,
Gillespie. Oh
well,
my God. Like I just, yeah, I've
right,
got,
like
yeah,
going back to like African culture,
yeah,
specific regions, right? And you know, when I'm talking with the team members, like she needs to be the one, who finds this root because it's related to her culture.
yeah.
And I can project that. But as she's doing it, right, like as the mentor, I have to nudge and say, go a little further, like
Yeah.
look a little more.
Wow.
Only because of the experience that I have, but for me to see her and to nudge her deeper feels so rewarding. I would just this
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I was like, I think what you've done so far is great, and it is. And I just found this podcast about the root of jazz, who's talking about different cultures in Africa and how they influence jazz, and maybe we should listen to this podcast because I think it's gonna
Like
help.
inspire the architecture, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And so that research of the history and that rooting down of not just me but the team, so that they understand. We have another project in the Midwest where it's, again, this is a big food market, and I was saying, you really need to understand, like, this region. We're not just we're applying, we're not just applying like pretty finishes, right? Like, and if we're doing architecture and interiors there, we're not just we need to understand like the history of this region, the history of the land. We're actually working with the Oneida Nation on this project as well, that they have a large presence in this area, and will be infiltrated. The history, the patterning, the stories, the values will be sort of sprinkled throughout the project in a way that is sometimes obvious, other times not. Meaning, like, you drop the seed. The Oneida Nation's values are just as an example, you know, community. So if the quote or the specific words they use, whether it's in English or their written language, if that's sprinkled throughout the space, you don't always have to say, Oneida Nation, because again, unity.
Right. Yeah.
Do I really need to say where that came from? I'm
It doesn't need to be
suggesting.
a banner constantly. I mean, that doesn't get absorbed into our system when it's kind of like, knocked.
Well, it's
Yeah.
sort of like saying this is them. This is them. But what I want to say is this is us.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
right? That's
Exactly.
unity. And that's, again, everything comes back to the center. Unity, my focus, unity, in interconnectedness, that's union, that's yoga. That's
Oh,
what yoga means, right?
so
Union.
beautiful. So
That's what
beautiful.
it literally translates as.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the way that we design. That's why I do believe that design is spiritual, and I do not always talk about it, but I always do it.
Yeah.
I always do it.
Wow. You have a project to show us. I'm just going to pull up the images, beautiful hand drawings. Just give me a moment here
Sure.
to switch my camera and share here. Okay, I think we've got one of the images up here, and I just want to check if, aha. Do you want to show the elevation first or
I would say the site plan.
site plan? Okay.
Yeah.
This one? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's quite zoomed in. All right, I'll just zoom out again. Oh, there we go. All right, great.
So
Yeah,
this is,
so what's this project about?
yeah, this is actually a retreat center. So a wellness retreat center. And it's it's rooted in, again, connecting with the land, everything we've been talking about. The location is in the Midwest, in Wisconsin, and it's the center building is the community building. The smaller buildings at the side are the housing. So each building has 2 units. Then you can see there's a lake, there's a garden, with a couple of garden sheds on the bottom
Okay,
of
yeah.
the page.
Yep,
And
down here. Yep, yep.
yeah, and then there's the staffing housing, which is up on the clearing on the left there. So the idea of this project is a space to come together in community. It's the elements of the main building. So each housing unit, like I said, is two different units. So everybody has a private space, but not so separate that you could become disconnected from each other, right?
Right.
So this idea that there's a memory, there is a moment that we support each other, but you also have privacy. So again, the union and the duality of togetherness and separation. The design, they all obviously come together into this central garden area that then accesses the main building. The main building has a communal kitchen and communal dining. So it's not just communal dining. Like I've been to a lot of retreat centers that have communal dining, but the concept here is that you actually cook together and you eat together.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Uh, on the left-hand side of that building is a yoga room. Obviously, this is super conceptual at this point. On the
Yeah.
left-hand side is a yoga room, and then in the same main building.
In here or?
No, on the main building in the center.
Oh, here, this one. Yeah.
So yeah, that part's the yoga room, and then the little square to the top, that's actually a study meditation space that's up some
Mm.
stairs. So you're actually
Mm.
integrated into the treetops at that
Oh,
point.
wow. Yeah.
Then they have a communal garden, a shared garden that's really for the food. That's a little bit further down, right here where you are. Your little hand is right now, and you garden together. So again, you're connecting with land. You're connecting with each other. You're growing and picking from the garden, going together to cook together, and then dine together. In the building, there's also an internal fire pit that is, for storytelling. So it's quite a small retreat center, but it's, again, it's meant to have these spaces that are together and apart.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
the style of the presentation is really meant to hint to speak to the fact that this is about nature. This is
Yeah.
about being at one with with the land, uh,
Yeah.
versus doing some sort of digital. Not, and again, we do those too, but this
Yeah.
project,
Yeah.
it's really about
Yeah,
it's
I
really
love
about
that you did
nature.
this hand. Yeah, I love that you brought the hand drawing back and even just the gentle details of the waves at the water. Like there's
Hmm.
this touch, this, it's like I see you, water. I
Hmm.
feel you, water. And then just this gentle, just whoever, uh, just the lines of the path. I mean, there's just yeah, I mean, I'm such a fan of hand drawings. I still do hand drawings myself. It
Yep.
really helps you to awa listen to spirit, to listen to the land. There's just this way of the land and the way of drawing. It's just so different. Yeah, such a
It's a
different quality.
meditation. It's a
Yeah,
meditation.
yeah, yeah,
I find that we continue to move further and further away from that, and
yeah.
I really, it's frustrating because I see the young designers coming out of school, and not only do they not hand sketch, but they don't
They,
even, they don't even really draw.
they don't
They
draw.
just
I mean, forget
throw
about
stuff
building
into a rendering.
models.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're just like throwing something into a rendering, and they they they
Yeah.
don't, like, it's really hard for them to go backwards,
Yeah.
and uh and I feel sad for them
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they
It,
don't
it's
really understand.
yeah. Whereas if they had that basis, I'm just going to move to the next
Yeah.
drawing. I love this elevation. Whereas if they had that basis, then of course you can use the digital as a tool because you carry that root, that capacity. Just like I'm just thinking about the group of seven in Canada, these famous painters who went out in nature and listened to nature, and they set up their easels out of the Great Lakes and the beautiful
Mm-hmm.
landscapes of Canada, particularly Ontario, and they painted
Mm-hmm.
there, and they
Mm-hmm.
watched the sun move across the land, and shadows, right? Like there was a certain
Mm-hmm.
point where I was so doing digital that I forgot how to do shadows.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this is the same project, right?
This is the same project. So
Wow.
this is an elevation of the main building. Again, on the left-hand side, you can see that the yoga room. So it's really like focused on nature. The two sides of it are solid, and the front is all glass.
Yeah.
Um, the tower on the left is that reading room.
Oh, I
So
love that. Yeah.
you've got light coming in from above, and you've got glass on
Beautiful.
the side that's kind of framing the view. The central portion is, all glass, again, facing the community space, the outdoor community
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, and on the right hand side, where you see that stone, it's kind of depicted as stone.
Yeah.
That's the hearth.
Mm,
So again, when you look at the floor plan, which I did not include in here, the hearth, the room, the whole room is stone, and you step down into this pit that then engages with the hearth, the
wow.
fireplace, so that there's like a sense of intimacy, not just because of the fire, but because of the architecture. This
Mm,
idea of, you know, feeling, being a little more vulnerable because of the
mm,
shape, because of the experience, because you're kind of sinking into the ground, it
yeah.
feels.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
and then obviously on the right, that's the kitchen and the dining hall.
And
But this is an interesting drawing because we never do drawings like this anymore. It's not a pure elevation.
I'm so happy you brought this to show us. Yeah.
Yeah, like
And what do
we
you
don't have to
mean by
really
it
talk.
not being a pure elevation anymore?
Well, so a pure elevation is completely flat, right? So
Right.
I mean, this is flat, but it's like an axon elevation
Yeah, it
because
has a bit of like a depth to it, especially
it has depth
because
to it.
the right hand is on an angle, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's, I mean, it's part of it's because of the building, but we don't do buildings like that, right? Like everything is super flat. We're working on a house right now that's not orthogonal, and it's really hard for people to get their head around.
Right.
And also to do it in a way that is not orthogonal, but also functional. Because
Right. Oh, of course.
sometimes
Then
you
you just
have
get
like,
awkward
yeah,
corners and
yeah.
weird moments of like, what? This wall just does not want to meet this other wall. Yeah. Yeah.
There's like a handful of houses in my town that there was an architect, I don't know who the architect was, who would do these additions and basically just like rotate them 45 degrees. And but they were fully physically connected to the house. And it just everyone I've been in, I've been like, I don't understand how you use this room.
Right.
So instead of separating it, you can shift the shape, you
Absolutely.
can
Yeah.
rotate it, but you have to like separate it so that the space is usable and understandable, because that goes back to the energy of the space, right? Like
Right.
if you just rotate a shape, you get stuck energy.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our colleague Doria Karim, who will be on the series, she's her and her father and her team, they're all about right the subtle energetic qualities of form and their rotations, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, absolutely. So it's there are just some that if they're rotated incorrectly, or if it's just off, it will be very unsettling. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And then just saying like the style of these renderings uh actually was inspired by a very specific rendering of Frank Lloyd Wright that was, I actually don't remember what the building is right now, but there was a period of which he was doing these colored pencil drawings, and but there's one that's like a building kind of coming down a cliff, and it's just so ephemeral, like you
Yeah.
feel the space.
Yeah.
And frankly, despite some of his shortcomings as a human,
Yeah.
his philosophic perspective of
Yeah.
architecture and design is quite rooted in the experiential. And
Absolutely.
although the ego may have gotten involved
Sure.
too, I mean,
And
we all have
it's
an
a
ego.
certain different time as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we all have an ego somewhere
Yeah.
in
We
involved
do.
anyway. But but he really did talk about the land. He
Yeah.
did talk about
Yeah.
culture. He did talk about energy, and a space, a project like this that's in nature, that's intended to connect you to nature, and happens to be in the Midwest where he's originally from. This is an entirely appropriate way to articulate the rendering. And I
Yeah.
wanted to just say that because again, it's talking about the whole. It's talking about the union. Here's
Yeah.
like the history of the land. Here's a design that is about connecting to the land.
Yeah.
And here's even a style of presentation that's connecting to the history of architecture, the history of connection to the land. And that's how you create this whole holistic practice.
Oh, so beautiful. Absolutely. And I feel like just tuning in and being with this drawing, Rachel, I feel the land, the care that's been put into the rockscape, the landscape, drawing that in, including it in to this architecture. And the architecture is also it's embracing that as well, the high points, the low points. And it speaks also the vernacular of the place. There is a kind of just recently went on an amazing river trip in Idaho. So you're saying this is the Midwest, right? So
Right.
what
This,
state is it?
yeah, this is actually in Wisconsin.
Okay,
Hmm.
in Wisconsin. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I mean, I've just you can feel it's not the East Coast.
Hmm.
Um, and what I've learned through studying Rudolf Steiner and anthroposophic architecture,
Hmm.
living architecture, is that the buildings really do, when they speak to us and when we understand that each space is for a certain function. Now, I know that that's just could be just really like standard modernist architecture speak. But what I mean by that is that there's so many residences, Rachel, so many projects that you don't know if it's an art gallery, if it's a house, like it could be a condo. You don't know if it's an office. And what that does to the soul is it actually makes it on edge, and you don't feel safe because you don't know. It could be something like you don't know what to expect, but I'm not suggesting that there isn't a mystery or that there's a surprise or an unfolding. But what I mean is that when you look at a home, you want to get a sense that it's speaking home. And so when I look at these various forms, it's like, aha, yeah, I get this. I get this. This is a place for community. There are spaces to gather outside in between the buildings. There's a space that enables me to climb up and have some solo time, which is kind of like the eagle, the higher consciousness that looks out over the landscape. And I get to connect with that big rock scape in the back when I'm up there, right? That's that place for self-reflection. I mean, maybe you have some different intentions, and I know you shared a little bit when you were sharing the site plan. And then down low, this arched space, the yoga space, right? That's
Hmm.
that's that's the space where we can all gather and be held within this soft, embracing roof. And then the fireplace, that's so clear. It's so clear to me. And I think of children too, and kindergarten spaces and school spaces. They need spaces like this too. They don't want to be going somewhere that just looks like a strip mall, right? For their
Hmm.
for their education. And
Yep.
so, yeah, I mean, these forms speak to the soul, Rachel, and I'm just so thrilled that you get to be creating this project with your clients. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting. And I will say, like, just on that notion of the space feeling, the building feeling like uh what it's intended for. I happen to, again, as I mentioned, I was in the Midwest this past weekend, and I uh took my kids to the Harley Davidson Museum.
Nice.
And one of them said, and it was amazing. I don't actually know who the architect is, but even the light fixtures, like they shone down on the floor. The colored concrete was kind of like almost looked like oil. And the light fixtures shone down in like this soft circular um, reflection that looked like the uh, the light on the front of a vintage Harley Davidson. And I don't ride Harley Davidsons. I just, I think it's a beautiful story. But one of my kids said to me, this building feels like Harley Davidson.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and it just like when my child, who, okay, is 17, but still, and is I've drugged to many buildings.
Yeah.
I still thought that was a pretty profound thing to hear from a teenager. Um, and that's how we should be designing, right? That's what
Yeah.
we're trying to do. That's what I
Yeah.
tried to do in this
This
building.
speaks community. It speaks yoga. It speaks
Mhm.
self-reflection, speaking
Mhm.
connection with the land, the elements. Yeah. I love
So,
that. Ah, that's amazing. Yeah, this building speaks Harley Davidson. It is Harley Davidson. Yeah, love it. I'm just moving to, okay, so you have both on the
this is
same.
just, yeah, this is just
Well, it's
side by
nice to
side.
see them together. So,
Yeah,
wow.
because you can just see like this building is that central building that
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
and
And there's a lot of, yeah, these different heights and yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah.
anyway, hopefully we're, it's early stages. Sometimes these things take a long time to come to fruition, but we're excited and hoping to do more and more and more projects like this.
I love it. I love it. Wow. So beautiful. So beautiful. I'm just going to switch my camera here. All right. Beautiful. Wow. Thank you for sharing. So glad that you did the hand drawings for this project, you and your team. Congratulations. And we look forward to seeing it built and look forward to seeing people experiencing it, making memories in it,
Yeah, thank you.
transforming in these spaces, healing in these spaces. And I'm sure the nature spirits are very excited about it too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. As we close today's talk, Rachel, I would love to hear what your vision is for the new Earth and what our our role as architects, as women architects, is to build it.
I think our role as women architects is to bring it back, to bring the industry and the projects back home,
Hmm.
back to the root, back to protection, back to creating moments of awe,
Hmm.
back to soulful design, um, back to connection. It's really all the things that we've been talking about. I think, I, because I'm not sure how you feel about this, but because I'm looking at this, it's a little bit like being pregnant, where you when you're all of a sudden when you're pregnant, you see everybody who's pregnant. Before that, you didn't really see everybody who's pregnant.
Right.
So,
Right.
so
Yeah.
I love that it feels like this conversation's getting bigger and bigger and more people are
That.
really investing and feeling it and connecting to it. And I just wonder if it was like all these people were silent out in the world, but feeling the same way, or if it's really just like consciousness growing. I actually don't know the answer, but I'm very excited that it's happening because uh, there's enough opportunity and abundance for everyone to be in the conversation and in the work and in the transformation,
Yes.
because the more of us that there are, the faster, right, that's not even a good word, the the
Yeah.
the more healing that's going to happen.
Yeah. 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 I love that visualize that vision that you have of, the awareness of, okay, it's like after you become pregnant, you notice the other women that are pregnant. And it's when you said that, I was feeling like we're all the ones who are really hearing the call, we're all carrying the seed. And it's all
Yes.
just, they're gestating within us. And it's our responsibility to care for it, to water it, to nourish it, to listen to it, and to be an instrument for it to grow. And I see this as the greater temple that we're all building together. And it doesn't have to be this one kind of temple, right? One kind of style. I mean, the ancient temples are not actually needed anymore. Where the key is to really build the temple within ourselves
Mm-hmm.
so that we can really feel what that feels like, and then radiate that out into our blueprints, radiate that out into our relations with others, with our colleagues, with the builders, with the engineers, with our team. I
Mm-hmm.
love it. Wow, you just like you what you just shared brought forth a beautiful transmission. And thank you so much. You're doing great work in this world.
Thank you, as are you. And I'm always so pleased to be here. And, you inspire me, and our conversations are always so rich, and I learn so much from them.
Oh, thanks, Rachel. Me too. Really, I receive. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
For all of you, I'm just switching to view at the camera right now. I know that for some of you who are a bit sensitive to eye movement, I've got two cameras going here. Just before we close, I encourage all of you to continue to tune into all the interviews that we have for you in the Sacred Blueprint interview series. We've got an amazing circle of energetic design experts who will be sharing their expertise on how you can build healing sanctuaries with the wisdom of nature and actually incorporate these principles, be inspired, and start to feed and nourish your own design practice, and pioneer the new earth with all of us. It's a movement. It's a worldwide movement. Yeah. Yay. Thank you so much for joining again, and have a beautiful rest of the day and a beautiful weekend.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Bye, Rachel.
Bye.
See ya. It's time to rise and unite your two sides. The determined, go-getter, high-achieving architect with the wild, nature-loving energy healer. You're fed up with the grind and stress of conventional practice and are ready to come out of hiding and unleash your feminine magic to birth the temples of our future by partnering with the spirit of the land. Hi, I'm Aisha Rose. I'm an architect on a bold mission to help humanity awaken and heal by bridging spirit with form. After over 20 years of leading a distinguished career in architecture and successfully working with land energetics, I birthed the Sacred Blueprint, a revolutionary, unconventional approach helping you to design the optimal blueprint for your clients' dream sanctuaries while opening the way for smooth project planning. Now I'm thrilled to share my unparalleled expertise and cutting-edge tools with you so you lead a prospering, spirit-led architecture practice while attracting overflows of abundance, radiant health, creative ease, and divine match clients while making a powerful impact on Earth. Introducing the Sacred Blueprint Certification Program, a proven spiritual energetic property design system that will outlast AI and equip you with all you need to know to leverage your intuitive gifts with architecture. Nothing like this exists out there. The Sacred Blueprint is a call from Mother Earth. This is the next evolutionary pulse and a groundbreaking movement for high-achieving, spirit-conscious women architects that will put you miles ahead as a leader and help heal the planet. Apply now.